Good morning. It's call the May 18th Park and Tree Committee meeting in order. We start with a roll. I would start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Now let's move on to a roll call.
Lena Tucker,
Present.
Wally Shreves,
Present.
Bob Dalton,
Here.
Nancy Patton,
Here.
and Deborah Sue Northern.
Here.
Nancy Curtis did send me an email and say she's unable to make it this morning.
Okay. Time reports. First off, I'd like to state that even yesterday, while thinking about it, that I needed to get it in because I got a bunch of time to send in. I didn't do it, so I will at the end of this meeting. So please send your time reports to Angela in an email so she has a hard copy of them. I know several of us have time from the time. Think about your time you spent at the Evergreen Park. The kids pick up their little time they spent in the park. So those are some things to add in.
If you just send me an email, let me know how many hours, and then I can add it to our spreadsheet.
Yep. So let's move on to public comment.
Everyone looks at Ashley.
That was her comment.
She doesn't like her grandmother.
Something I would like to say for this group, for the public comment, I don't know if at the city you can tell who's on and who's not on the site listening, but I did find out that there are people that do listen that don't ever talk. So,
Really?
yeah.
So Blair, correct me if I'm wrong, they can watch it and not be a part of the meeting, I think.
Right now, just like we are. They just
Yeah.
don't have to turn on their, or their, right.
So we should say hi.
Hi.
Yeah. It was just
Hi,
a,
everybody.
it was something I didn't think anybody had ever listened to us.
Hmm.
And I know for a fact that the folks at the New Era, there's a guy that listens to our meeting and so he can report things. So if he can do it,
Nice
others
guy.
can do it. So it might make me behave a little better knowing that.
Me too.
You think?
I'm relieved because you were way out of line.
Just say good morning, Dave.
Yeah,
Finally, something that will restrain you.
yeah. So, item that seems to be missing here is a review of a previous month's minutes.
Yeah.
So let's take a moment, review it. Once someone is finished reviewing, if I can get a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as they stand.
I second that.
With that,
All in favor?
all in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
all opposed? Now, the minutes are approved. Okay, so let's move on to old business. Beautification committee updates.
Okay, I handed out a agenda from their last meeting for everyone just to take a look at. That kind of gives you a real snapshot of what that group as a whole is working on. So if you've never seen that, that'll I mean, they're all over Sweet Home, basically, and there was a shout out on it. I think the thanks for the people that helped with the median strip. I think that went well. I wish I would have been there, but my back said differently. So, but anyway, thank you for everyone that participated in that effort. That's really all I have, unless our guest back there has something to say. But that's about it.
Ask her how many plants they planted. How many plants did you plant, Ashley, this last time?
1,300.
Thank you, Wally.
Yeah, and I will say that I think that I don't know who did all the communication in advance, but it really helped get people out there,
Oh, great.
because I noticed I planted a lot less than I did the previous planting. Maybe that was just because I didn't have a mask on this time and I could breathe better and move quicker, but it definitely went quick compared to, I would say we were done half an hour earlier with the same amount of plants. So more people makes it go a lot quicker.
I think in addition to that, it's beautification to me was the May Day with the high school kids that came to Sankey Park that day. I mean, the three of us were down there, and those kids come across that bridge, and they didn't have to be asked what to do. They grabbed shovels and wheelbarrows, and they just went after it. There was kids picking up tree limbs where I don't know where they got them, but they had them, and shoveling bark dust and picking up garbage. So 1 hour, and then they dispersed and went to the other side to do another project, but they had a lot of fun doing it. So, and thanks to Greg, your group, for being down there and working with them.
Yeah, that was the best day, looking at Sean's face with all that going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not here. I don't know where Sean's at. He could be with Dominic. They're trying to hang, the water's off on 24th. We're trying to hang a valve and do a tie-in so we can start laying pipe for the homeless center. So
Yeah.
that's what they got going this morning. So they got to get that water back on before Dollar Tree gets operating. So
Yeah. So we move on to Ashbrook Park. I know we took out a couple trees.
Yes, they took out a couple of the kind of danger trees there in the park, and there will be opportunities to put a couple more trees back in. So it could be an option for next year's Arbor Day event. We're going to do something featuring that park or another park. I'd suggest we wait till fall for planting, pick out something, go all take a look, decide colors, textures, what we want to do. But there's plenty of room to put a couple mid-size trees with good color in there.
Would it hurt to plant things then instead of fall, but do it on Arbor Day?
That park has irrigation.
Yep.
So depending on where we place
yeah,
it,
we can
then
irrigate them.
we'll probably be good. But we have that option, or we have big plans for North Side. So,
Yeah.
we have a couple options for the Arbor Day event in a park, which seems to go over really well.
Yeah.
We want.
I think Northside could.
Publicity.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
For Arbor Day next year.
right.
Mhm.
Okay,
So let's put Ashbrook just on hold, and we'll pick up trees next fall.
okay.
And I guess tree ordering probably sooner than like
We probably should wait until the budget is passed, at least till
Until the
July
budget,
1st. And then we'll know what our budget is for.
but based on varieties that they had available this year, probably earlier in the fall, winter.
Yeah.
To get what we want.
Yeah.
How many are we're talking like two?
I'm only talking a couple trees.
So, I mean, based on what we paid for Arbor Day celebration this year, I'm not worried about finding that budget for
Okay.
this next fiscal year. So I think anytime you want to settle on a type of tree, we can look into.
Yay. Actually
Thank you.
accomplished something already.
Yay.
Let's move on to Weddle Bridge.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We did find a gentleman to inspect the bridge, and I believe May 31st. Yeah, he's scheduled to do the inspection. I found him through the county. And he's got the background information on it, and he'll do a full-on inspection, see what kind of condition we're dealing with, what needs to be done structurally to maintain it. I don't think any of his inspection is going to include, the cosmetic stuff. He's mainly going to be looking at the structure stuff now. But it'll be a good information for us to have going forward.
Yeah.
And it was reasonable in our budget. It was threshold, so we really didn't need to.
Yeah.
We didn't need to go to council or anything like that. It was under our authority to do that. It was like 2,700, 2,600, something.
Actually surprised at how little
Yeah.
it was. Maybe I've seen too many big numbers in our budget discussions, but it seemed very reasonable compared to what we were expecting.
That's good. So Greg, the email I sent you, I didn't know if you knew who was doing the work on that Shemanic Bridge out there.
So I had spoke to the public works director in Staten, and I know he pointed to some other people, and for this first initial, I think this cost is good because it'll give us an idea of what we need and don't need.
Yeah.
If we get to a point where we need some major, in other words, it recommends a little bit more than what public works can do, then I think we can reach out to like other people that are in the construction side. There's also Oregon State bridge contractors. They're in SIO.
Yeah, I saw them.
And so let's see where we're at first. It could be just a few boards that need to replace. It needs some cosmetic. It just maybe needs some tuning. We'll figure out exactly what that is.
As I was looking around, I did find that some of the resources were not available to us because off-highway bridge. Shemanic Bridge, they're in use. So
Yeah.
it qualifies for programs that we
Right.
but there's still other stuff out there.
Yeah. I was just going to stop and ask the name of the company. That was it. Just so you had hey, these guys worked on a bridge, and a covered bridge. Maybe there was a specific thing that.
I have a couple of companies that actually do covered bridge restoration. That's kind of, they do other things.
Okay.
I have a couple of people that they've done business.
Yeah.
So, when it comes time, if we have a project, it's going to be definitely over we're going to have to not only quote, but probably put an RFP out.
Okay.
Well, and I think we can get some really good, some good estimates from those folks, and that combined with our bridge inspection, will make it right for putting it out to the community and saying this is how much it's going to cost us to restore this bridge and get it in better condition. And please help out.
Yeah.
That certainly brought in plenty of attention in the past.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last meeting. My son walked out there with some group, was doing something. He walked into the park anyway from the school, and I had mentioned to him the condition of the bridge, and he was astonished. The foot marks and boards ripped off, and he'd walked across it before, but he's like me. I never paid attention until somebody brought it up,
Who was it?
and then I started looking at it. My son,
Okay.
who's not
Who goes
observant.
to the high school?
Yeah, who's not observant at all of
Right.
things like that, which is obvious looking at his room.
Mhm.
So when he sees that and he comes home and tells me about it.
Uh-huh.
It was like, so somebody brought up the thought process of getting the school more involved. That was kind of my little test, and it worked, that he actually paid attention, looked at it, and then went, wow, it really is bad. And these people need to stop doing that. So
Excellent.
that thought process may have value to it to make a difference.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Oh, you may.
I would, if you can, Angela, could you possibly look at the last couple of times, or at least one of the times that we had to put a pretty substantial amount of money into that bridge, painting it, new boards, I don't know how far you'd have to go back, but I know that we've done that in the past. And the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be.
Mhm.
So that'd be a concern for me because it could be a lot of money, you know.
Public Works painted the interior the summer I first got here, so 2017. The interior.
Well, they're afraid
And
of
that
height.
took
They
quite a
wouldn't-
bit of paint, and we
wouldn't-
did it ourselves with our sprayer and aerial, and we're not painters.
Yeah.
Because I looked at it, we are definitely not painters. You know, but it helped a little bit. And I think from a distance, it's nice and white and it looks beautiful in the park, but you get up on it and you get in, you can see the patina and you can see the destruction, the little bits of destruction in, you know, inch by inch. So probably more to come, but I think we'll have that inspection and then we'll start with maybe see how deep the boards are rotted and then a little bit of a facelift, some paint this year or something like that.
Yeah.
Did we ever go back on the security cameras? Because I know months back, we talked about security cameras.
Okay, so I talked to Brandon this morning. Ironically, PSA is starting on that today. The contract was signed 2 months ago, something like that. And so it's been in the works. And those camera system is an expensive system. I don't know exactly, but I want to say it's around 25,000, somewhere in there. Will be the entire park. We're going to put cameras on top of light poles. We'll have it on the bridge. And so we'll be able to pick up high quality cameras, people, as they go through the park, be able to watch them. The idea is that PD will be able to, at their fingertips, have a screen that they can log into, whether that's up to them, how they want to handle it. But they can actually watch what's going on. And I'm hoping that we get to a point where they have a screen there. That's what I envision. And it's in dispatch. And I don't know if people get complacent to that, but at least if something calls in, they can see things going on. So that's starting today, this week.
Nice.
That'll be good. Thank you. So we move on to Sankey Park stage. So a group of us walked out to just look at the area. You know, it was just basically a site survey to see how big of an area we had to work with. That was kind of the goal of that little walkabout. And from memory, it seems like our dimensions were going from the park towards north towards the up to the BMX track in that direction. You're talking 50 feet, approximately 50 feet in depth. And the width is basically, you could just say it's our budget. It's far wider than we could afford to put something in or have any need for. So it's huge in that direction. So that kind of gives us some options of what we have with limitations to put something in that park area. Because I think until you stand there and look at it, it doesn't do you good, you know, especially we talked about possibilities of the amphitheater, what it would look like, you know, what trees may need to come out, you know, how all that would work out, and all that's way down the road, you know, what could be. There's a million things that could be if we had an unlimited budget. The one thing that I think was obvious that I don't think I recognized prior to that was if the stage was set there just slightly elevated 3 or 4 feet from the entire Sankey Park, you have a really good view of the stage right where that area is. And I know several of us walked out and looked back, and it was pretty surprising, you know, how well you could see stuff. So that the dual-sided aspect may work well for larger and smaller venues, just based off what we saw there. That sound?
Ledges back on that hill, so points to what you guys can see. Could make it.
That would be great.
I did meet with Robert Shemick last week, and I brought up the stage idea in Sankey Park. And it was interesting hearing his perspective as running an organization that puts on these big concerts on a regular basis. The to do something that they would want to use would cost huge amount of money and likely only be used once a year if that. And so it kind of gave me pause a minute to think, okay, we really need to think about the audience we're directing this toward and what is actually going to get used as opposed to what's just going to sit there around. Basically with what we were talking about, it seems like it's something like the Jamboree would continue to bring in a stage from elsewhere.
Yeah.
And set it up. And so based on that conversation, I'm kind of the opinion that putting together a stage that's for that level doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now you could accommodate something because I mentioned to him the Independence has a stage trailer that they own and that they take to different parts of the city. And so they have all the equipment on it and they just tow it and put it in a different spot. He said there's plenty of places that rent out stuff like that. The problem is you gotta have the rig to tow it, which we probably could figure out. But you also have to have the expertise to set that thing up and use it. And that's a whole person that the city doesn't have on staff. So it would be a big lift for the city to jump into that arena.
Yeah.
However, you could design something so that a trailer like that could easily come in and slot in and have it designed in such a way that you have a ready-made concrete pad or something like that to be set in where they can hook up to power and everything and have that incorporated into whatever we put in. And perhaps even incorporated in a way that is attractive and useful for other things, some kind of plaza kind of area or something like that is intentionally designed in such a way that a trailer could just be parked on it for big events like that. Those are just some ideas that I thought of when I was talking to him and things that we should probably make sure that when we're designing this thing, what are we imagining is actually going to be on it? And is that a realistic expectation before we get the money in there?
That's
So-
true.
Great.
I agree.
Blair and Chairman, one of the other things to think about is that people do like to rent it out before it crashed, before we removed the other one and before it became unusable. I had, just like the gazebo on the bridge, I have people that like to rent it for different activities. So having something that's movable, just to think about that, having something stationary compared to having something movable, because we do have people that want to rent it. So that's another aspect of it. Deciding how we're going to design it is, that's another caveat. to
And
it.
I'm not suggesting that we not do any shelter at all, or that we only have a concrete pad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it may be something smaller than what we would otherwise, that we had previously been thinking of finding out. What size structure is somebody going to want to rent? I do still love the idea of an amphitheater utilizing that hillside. But you can have a shelter that does that and is a shelter that other people would want to rent for other times.
Yeah.
And so forth. And you could still have a small stage that faces the other way.
Yep.
You just have to keep in mind who's actually going to be using
Movies in the park.
that too.
When you said you talked to him, was that conversation of moving the entire Jamboree to that location or just using it as a second stage?
Next stage.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're apparently, they typically have a second stage in.
They
Saint
do.
Park.
Yes, they
Yeah.
And apparently this summer, there's going to be some of the bigger headliners will be on that second stage.
I think they even
Which
talked
they
about
haven't done.
having 2 stages at our last, I go to their public meetings, but anyway. So what I was thinking, maybe if we had the base, the concrete thing, and then maybe something that was temporary that, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but that could be put up for like Angela said, people that want to have weddings or a Mexican holiday event or, whatever, something like that. But then still have the platform there that when we do want to have the big things, then we would be able to bring a truck in. I don't know if that's even possible, if they have temporary things that can go up for like a stage area.
What you could do, if we continue with the idea of the amphitheater, double-sided kind of thing, you could still have something that's on the same grade as that first bench that forms kind of an amphitheater and then is 4 feet above the grade on the opposite side, forming kind of a stage for other people on the other side. And on that stage, on that side where it's 4 feet up, you could have a large kind of concrete plaza that could be used for seating or smaller events, or could be kept clear and have a trailer park on there to be used as a stage. And as long as there's power there for them to hook into, that would meet the need. So I mean, just spitballing. I don't know. We'd have to look at some actual, designs. There's some preliminary ideas, designs on make sure the measurements out would really fit and be usable. And I think we probably would want to run those by some professional. Say,
Definitely.
does this work? Would this be in the way? Would you be able to put your stage in here and have it be?
I think that key word though was they'd use it once a year. Predominantly if we had a stage sitting there, that would be the primary function for people to rent and use. And I could see people doing that a lot, specifically in that area.
Angela, how much do we charge them to rent that? $50?
Changing our fees here soon. Have the markup of what we have right now. It's $100 deposit, $15 an hour.
Yeah,
But
so,
we're changing it.
so we're not gonna pay for that thing like in 2,000 years, so to rent it.
That's more for our.
I understand that.
guys.
I understand that, so.
Yeah.
Well, and just like a lot of the meetings I go to, we can beat this thing up for another half an hour, 45 minutes, but we're talking about a lot of money, and it's where it's going to come from. It's not going to come out of the general fund. I can tell you that right now. It just isn't going to happen. So, and the budget will be approved, I'm sure, when we have our next meeting. I think it's Tuesday. I think that's when it'll be finalized. There might be some of.
In June.
Oh, that's right. It's in June. So, but I'm pretty sure it'll be passed. We can't, the council can't change the budget if I'm correct. We can't change it a lot. We can upper this percentage. So it'll more than likely be good.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
Yeah.
So
that's my opinion.
So Bob had a place to look at
Yeah,
in Oregon just to go just to go check out and see what they have to offer.
see, and I talked to them again, and now that the weather's starting to change, I plan on going up there because it's not that long, but they were willing to build a structure
that.
to whatever we needed. If you wanted steel powder coated post with wood trusses, they do it that way. They just build a roof system. Or if you wanted the wooden structure all the way up, the first structure I think she had was a 24 by, I want to say 60, but I'm not sure. It was around 65 grand. And to me, that's a doable number. Now that's not including the concrete, to set it on and that, but that was a UV coated system. Comes with all the brackets and everything. Tongue and groove decking on the roof structure. You can get it in about 4 different designs or whatever. They'll do whatever you want. They have an engineering design team. You tell them what they want and they'll figure it out and say, is this what you want? So I think that's the one that definitely would be more catered to maybe what we need for size of that. But they'll make it tall as you want, short as you want, long as you want, whatever fits your demographic. So as soon as I get that done, then and Dave said he'd go with me and buy me lunch. So he
Well, I
did say that.
I think that's what the discussion was. So right now, within this year, we need to figure out the design, the placement, and then the cost. And once we get at least an estimate, then we can start looking at the grant process and what we're going to include in that grant process, because that's what was discussed. So But it's really hard to look at the grant process until we have these numbers. And that
Yeah.
includes whether we're going to include it in the Upper Sankey Park design also. So if we're going to put it all together in one lump sum, which might be a good idea to do, then we're going to also have to have the other amenities for Upper Sankey Park included in that. So that's, so figuring out, having Bob go and talk to them, but figuring out what the group wants to see size wise, design wise, and then they can come up with something to get a quote, and then we can add that to our list of items that we want to get covered in the grant. So we've got, you know, whether we want the Upper Sankey Park include the bathrooms in that grant, you know, the BMX park in that grant, whatever else we want to do. So I think that's what we need to take the time this year to do, and then we can start figuring out donation, solicitation, that type of thing. So the match part of it. So if the committee is game for that, that's what I would like to challenge you to do so that we can get those numbers. Then we can start looking at how we're going to approach it grant wise, whether we're going to need a couple grants, whether we're going to need one grant, and how we're going to do that. So.
And I think back to Dave's point too, is fitting a structure that, because the structure we had there wasn't that huge of a structure, but it was a well-used structure over the years because it was really family oriented, or kind of what you were saying, weddings or family reunions. And I mean, it was the stage big enough for local entertainment to be used. I'm not saying it couldn't be bigger. It was just that way it housed, you know, what fit our community at that time, even though we are growing. So
Yeah.
Yeah. What, did you find out what size of we talked about the size of the trailers, right? I think somebody looked it up and it was like 24 by. Yeah.
Never uses bigger stages than that.
34 by 24.
Trailers, they're actual.
Is that what,
Right.
is that what Lebanon uses when they have their, oh, okay. Because I know at Lebanon at the lake, they have stages brought in too.
towards the canyon.
Yeah, so if that's a decent size, predominantly would fit everything we would use. You know,
Something that size kind of makes me think, as I was telling him, is where the little paved parking lot is there that faces the cannon. You know, if that trailer was to whip in there and face that direction, it'd take it all out into the park. I mean, you wouldn't have to be adding an extra concrete slab. That trailer pull in there and just set up. Now, you might have to redo the entrance there to the park a little bit with some of the posted thing. I don't know, maybe that's a thought, to face it that direction where it faces right towards the bridge and all out into the park, you know. Guy could pull it in there and swing it in. The paid parking lot right there in front of the cap. I know where we have the sign, but if we rethink about maybe if we did remove the Sankey entrance sign on those steps, if that's in the way, but that would face that thing clear out into the park, that stage that direction. I don't know, maybe I thought just a
It would
different.
just take away the amphitheater feel. So if you wanted to do that, we wouldn't do the amphitheater option.
Exactly, but it is an option to look at it differently.
I think, you know, we've already got an access road. If we just made a little bit of improvements right where it sits, so we're not setting it in mud.
Yeah.
That could be done in a multitude of ways, concrete, asphalt, rock, anything. But I would imagine that's not really horribly expensive if we think about that. If we had a trailer and just wanted to be able to back it in, set it up, and then disconnect it. I think we just make improvements to that dirt area right off the trail. And make it.
So how would you be able to include that so people could rent it? Not they rent it, you know, but have the city or whoever, you'd have to have a whole crew that could set it up and everything. If somebody wanted to have a big shindig and wanted a stage. I'm just thinking what the public was gonna like.
So if somebody brought in, you know, like an event like the Harvest Festival and wanted to bring in their own stage, they would have to go through us to be able to do that anyway. it would be a special event permit. It would be, so that we would have to do logistics with that. So, I mean, right now, I mean, it wouldn't be any different than the Harvest Festival. It just wouldn't be the city putting it on. It would be a
Right.
private person putting it on. And so,
But we're talking
Phone
about, we
company.
would buy this trailer, correct?
If we went that route.
if we went that route.
Okay.
It makes sense. I
That's what
mean,
I
what
was-
you guys saying, it makes sense because we're talking about the Tuesday events.
Right.
You've had the Jamboree and then you would have other Harvest Festival and any other things that we plan to do could
You
be
could-
done.
You could add
Depends
all
on
kinds of
what level
events.
stage we're If it's
Right.
just a platform, that's one thing. If it's got hydraulics on it, if it's got
Lighting,
sound and lighting
lighting and
equipment
sound.
that are a part of it, then it gets to a level of complexity that we don't really have the staff to handle. That's the concern. I think.
I would say that we already got spider boxes. Maybe we get we figure out how to energize it through a quiet generator, but you just do the trailer. You let people figure out their lights and you let them figure out their equipment. That's what we're doing now over on the Rio.
You
And I
could-
know what you're talking about. That one in Independence is amazing looking when they get it all open and
If
I
you
mean,
did
it looks
that,
like a legit
sorry.
stage.
If you did that, you could give people at least a brochure or information if they wanted to have special lights or something that they could contact those people. I don't know. Anyway,
The only
It's a lot.
thing that I would say to kind of counter that is that the look of it for the park, and then if we have bad weather. Because you just have that platform stage and you wouldn't be able to use it except for on nice days. So, because I know the people that rented the stage before, they rented it because it's covered. Just like the bridge and the gazebo, so that was one of the amenities to it. So, and I'm not saying that the trailer's not a great idea.
Right.
Because it's portable. It's just some things to think about because you get all those electronics and stuff on there and you're gonna want to have something that's weather.
I think it's out of there.
I think I've seen a trailer covered before.
I mean, the one that
I've seen a
the one that
trailer
I
covered
rent
before.
from Ray is covered. So,
Well, and then the
But-
question is,
and
if
it grants
somebody
them
is utilizing a trailer like that,
so.
where are they getting the equipment from that we wouldn't supply, the sound, the lighting equipment? Because then you're competing with somebody who rents out their stage that includes the equipment. And if that's, if they're just gonna go there or somebody like that for it, then what are we providing a platform stage for? The other angle of when it comes to some kind of portable stage is that that's not going to be, we're not likely to be able to find grant funding that will cover that.
Right.
Any grant funding we can get is gonna be for permanent additions to the park. So something that's more of a platform for something like that could go on in the future could be covered. Stage itself, not so much.
Yeah, that's what Lena mentioned. We're not going to get grant money for it and the budget's not going to cover that. But it's a good idea to have it as a thought process of bring it in, possibly in that same area
I
and
think
set
we
it
would
up.
want to design that area to accommodate something like that, whether we own it or whether somebody else owns it and rents it
Yeah.
and brings it in. If it has a space that can accommodate that, and that can be pretty easy.
Yeah.
Just as long as it's a flat area that's well drained and
Then it's probably worth thinking about the fact that if we only think about what the city is today,
Mhm.
with just a real small structure, just for little things, it may be worthwhile to contemplate crazy idea that some business actually moves in here and provides some tax income that improves the ability to do things like that.
True. But we also are thinking about the future Jamboree grounds and
Yeah.
what those will, and so
Yeah.
at what point, what is the role of each facility?
Yeah.
And make sure that they're fulfilling that role. I see Sankey Park as more for the people who live here and are here all the time,
Mhm.
and future Jamboree grounds as being
Right.
events that bring people in.
Right.
now.
I agree.
Okay, well, we've completed the park now.
With no concrete ideas.
Yeah. I would agree, though, that to have somebody go just to go talk to the company in
Mhm.
Aurora, is that? Estacada. To Estacada, just to look and see what they have. And nothing more than get some information from them. And
Can we invite them to one of our meetings?
no, I wouldn't do that.
And
I
have
think
a-
just getting some information from them to go actually
Slideshow?
see the stuff they have and then just say, hey, this is what we saw. And then we could go back to them then, because that would give us an idea of what they build with and how it builds and what it looks like. And then we could talk about something we'd like to see, and maybe nothing they have is what we want for a design in the end, but at least you know that until somebody goes and does the talk and the look, you don't know. I
Mr.
know.
Chair, I
Well,
think that we need to get the public involved in this.
Yeah,
Oh, we do.
Yeah, so if we get up there and they've got 4 different things they could do for $65,000, then we bring that and have the new era, somebody figured out. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's my opinion.
Oh, yeah, you have to do that as part of it, but it's one of those things, if you get as bunch of information as you can to start with, and then go, okay, this is what we,
So with the information you get from there, let us know what you learn, and we can have some potential site plans.
Yeah.
Drawn out to kind of outline how big these things would be and where they would be located. Try to come up with a couple different options that you all can review and that can be shown to the public and kind of see what
Yeah.
people want to go forward.
and they may not be the company we go with anyway. I mean, it's just an idea and to see what's out there.
The thing is, for something like that, it's gonna have to be a bid process.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily, I mean, even if it's not high enough to require a request for proposals or something like that, it's still gonna have multiple bids required to look at, so it may not be that.
Yeah.
But the information is really helpful.
Yeah, and to back up what Blair said, my experience with trying to get public input, I don't think we should just say, what do you want to see in the park?
Oh,
And
no.
just leave it open.
Yeah.
I think we should have options and say, here's option 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4. Which design do you like, or which amenities to each design do you like, and do like a public,
And then leave a comment if there's something that
Yeah.
that you'd like to see.
Let
that's
them
not
vote.
represented.
Very similar to what we did at
Upper St.
Upper Sankey.
exactly.
But that's why I say, go see what they have to get some more ideas.
And
'Cause
similar to-
Well, I do know that what we don't know is whatever they know that we haven't seen yet. So they may have something. Well, I keep learning this, that I think I know stuff, and then I learn more once I dig into it. And it's like, well, I didn't know that, and so,
Well, and similar to the process we went through. Big plan.
Yeah.
Had some professionals look at it, kind of design things out, present options, comment on the options, they went back, redid it, brought it back, more comments, and then final version.
okay. So I'll let you two decide when you want to go look at it. I know,
yeah.
yeah. And you have to budget in that lunch. And ramen's going up in price.
It's the styrofoam cups.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay,
A day on a bus.
yeah. Let's talk about the Dallenberg Bridge. I think we're still waiting for the weather, right?
Yeah, there's no movement. Dominic's been busy on
Yeah.
quite a few other projects. So at some point, I think we'll pick up that discussion of, I think you guys need to figure out where it's going to go and how it's going to go.
Yeah.
I think Dominic can work on the other.
Yep, and I think that'll take is that something we would want to do the same thing with the community input? Or, I mean, we're only talking just across the parking lot. It seems to be that's what I'm saying, either on the island or next to the trees. I mean,
No,
to me, that seems to be what we're down to.
You did all your drive-bys.
yeah.
Yeah.
The placement in the
Wow.
trees would be.
Yeah, I can tell you that after talking to him and talking about this park to go in out here, and once you combine both of them together with the bridge, in my mind, that's just my mind, it's not good. That's the place to put it versus putting it out there by itself. It seems like it's sitting on an island, imagine that. And it has no other function, and you're not gonna wanna take photos out there with families, with the cars going by and the power lines and
there, it's gonna be something for cars to see.
Yeah.
Next to City Hall, further back, it's gonna be something for people to actually walk on and take pictures next to. So that's on the other side.
Is it?
What do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Do that.
So I recommend we do a vote of island, I'll call it island or park.
Park.
So all of those in favor of the island? All of those in favor of putting it in the park?
I,
Everyone voted park?
You're gonna move forward with that plan.
That was easy.
That's two things we've done today.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great amenity when we get that park done.
Yeah,
It'll
I
be
agree.
nice to be in there with a little playground and walk paths.
Yep.
So,
sounds good.
sure.
Okay,
Beautification.
yeah.
There you go.
So let's move on to North Side Park. And the first thing I would like to make a recommendation is that the weather is going to be nice on the third week of June.
You think?
You're sure about that?
Yes.
Where does this,
wow.
Logic come from? I don't know.
actually you?
No, what is his name? He's the state meteorologist for the Forest Service and Agriculture.
You said meteorologist, so that's,
I don't know if that's
Suspect
what
right
he's
there.
called, but he's the weather dude and he's on it. I
Yeah.
watch him every month. I get a video from him.
Is it Cliff Mass?
No,
Not him.
no,
Okay.
I can see his face. Anyways, I think we should do this meeting in Northside Park next month.
Can they record it?
30-day weather forecast. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
On your phone.
yeah, it'd have to be with some.
Everybody's got a phone.
Let us look into the logistics of that.
Yeah. You just need an audible recording, right?
That-
or just take minutes and notes
Yeah.
and post those minutes. And I think it would be, if we post it, that's where the meeting's going to be in advance. I don't know,
Yeah,
you know,
well,
it's one or the other.
It's not necessarily a rule that we have to record a meeting. It's
No.
We just have to
it's
document
just
it.
have to document
Documenting, and this
Yes.
is how we have chosen to document meeting space.
Right.
Okay.
If you have a meeting elsewhere, it doesn't have the same capabilities, as long as it's a public meeting and it's properly noticed,
Mhm.
and you take minutes,
Posted.
you could record it if you want, you could do it however.
I actually have a portable recorder that I used to use for these
Yeah, it
meetings,
is.
so.
There's not a requirement to post at site, 72 hours, just post it. There's not, you don't have to have it at the site.
And the reason is because I think we should go walk and talk about what we want to do down there because it's getting close to when we should be executing that, right? Am I close on that?
For North Side,
Yeah,
well, as soon as the budget is approved, which we hear it's probably going to be
Tuesday.
approved in June.
yeah,
It went well through the budget committee, so, yeah. Once we get that done, we can start spending July 1st.
yeah. So if in June, we actually went out there and came up with a good hardened plan to recommend the things that we want to all see done, we've talked about it, but to go stand there and look at it, it's totally different. And
It is. When I looked at it, I mean, you see things.
yeah,
Stand there and look at it.
well, and it's also might bring up a conversation of something we hadn't thought of.
Mhm.
You know, somebody to point something out. I think it would be good. I haven't been in that racquetball court in probably 15, 16 years. I
I've
was,
never been in it.
I was in it once that long ago. I don't know how
The
we,
floor has issues. It's got moisture issues. There's more, I guess, warping in the past. And so there needs to be some finishing on that. There needs to be some, love put on that building as well, paint on the exterior. If you've been in, take a look at it when we go out there, go inside. We only get a handful of people that are using it annually.
yeah,
Maybe it's time we rethink how we use that building. I don't know.
yes.
Yep.
I think
No.
part of it too, though, is that people don't know we have it, and we talked about
Right,
that at the last meeting,
Yeah.
is getting some sort of word out about the tennis court and the racquetball court, about that they are available and that we do have them and they can, there's a membership for it, and it's, yeah, it's not that expensive. The yearly membership is not that
Right. It just,
expensive,
you don't see a lot of people playing racquetball these days. It's, games evolve, even cornhole's now the latest out game, they're doing pickleball now. So,
Ping pong.
I don't know, these games keep turning over, but
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about pickleball, but I have no idea.
yeah.
I just know it involves a racket.
Yeah.
And a ball.
And the ball.
Oh, it does?
Ball.
Yeah, that's
We
all I
could
know
have
about
a
pickleball.
It's like ping pong.
cornhole
Ping pong.
What I
You
saw
have
on
a
TV.
net.
It's like a
that's-
short, like a short version of tennis.
whatever competition.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. It's a new name.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think that, and I think, huh?
The court, it's not very big.
No, it's
It's not very big.
Okay,
Standing right next to the-
That's probably part of the popularity is that it's easier than tennis and
oh,
can fit in a smaller space.
so it's like tennis.
I
It
believe
has
so.
a net. You just.
They don't have to run so far.
Yeah.
Is it a mix between badminton and tennis? Thank goodness, because I wasn't gonna do it then.
Just has a
Well, I
quick
was asked one
ball.
that they have-
Angela's looking it up. They're all looking it up.
I've got a computer.
Like that pickle.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
It's not, yeah, use it on there.
And it's
Okay.
fast.
Looks like
It's
wiffle balls.
fast.
Yeah?
It's really
Whoa,
fast. It's
look
really
at those
close.
paddles.
Yeah, the paddles are big, the balls are bigger.
There
and
it is.
Oh.
right there.
See,
That is a
Okay.
racket paddle sport that was created. by
doesn't hit the
combining
ground.
elements
You
of
have to hit
several
it in
other
the
racket
air.
sports.
It's
Oh.
like volleyball, but tennis,
Okay,
right?
Hmm.
It doesn't hit the
No,
ground.
it's like badminton to me.
Yeah, it's, the ball's more like a wiffle ball than a tennis ball.
so it might, maybe
it's
it's
a lot like tennis.
something very similar that you could make two pickleball courts on the tennis court.
Yeah.
By just having lines.
Sorry, I can't get sound from this.
I don't think it's big.
It's okay, don't
Oh,
look
no?
down, just see
Okay.
what they do.
I don't know. I just watched
Go to a
it.
video. Just go when you did that
It's like a-
pickleball.
it's like a video of somebody playing that doesn't have that.
Just
Oh.
go back, select video,
See, it's just like a.
go all the way up top. Go all the way up, select video, pickleball.
Okay.
Now go down, find a pickleball.
Ordered it.
There's one on the right.
There you go. Just,
Well, over here.
yeah, see, it's like volleyball. Oh, that hit.
See, it's.
No, it's just
Basically
little.
tennis, but it's-
Short,
Very condensed.
huh?
It's because the paddles are
Yeah,
just.
I see what it is. It's
Less-
designed for
less
people
running.
not to run.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, let's run.
Uh,
Yeah, that's why.
For
You can
older
run if There's
people.
only two people.
It's,
Yeah.
People like to be active, but they don't like to exercise.
That's
Yeah.
why they invented like,
Thank you.
It's senior tennis. Get over.
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
oh, they don't even have to
My
run.
friend in Arizona, she's
Yeah.
a champion of it. They're older people.
Dave could even play that.
See, I'm
Sorry.
in charge of the net.
I still can't, I can't. do that.
You don't have to. I'll just.
It'll probably be an Olympic sport someday.
Just
Yeah.
Watch, serve.
Make
Goes
things for that
Yep.
day.
ding.
Okay, so, but
Anyway,
in addition to checking out the racquetball court, the tennis court, it seems to me that there's a basketball setup
Yes.
Yeah,
right there also. To take a look at that. And then I think that, it's my opinion, that we don't, we have the takeout area that people like to take out down where the construction's gonna go in, taking out of the river. But for people that actually use the river from a park, to use the river at a park, I think that's the real only place we have. Is that correct?
Yes, other than the
Public access, yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like a
Yeah.
public park with the river involved.
city owned, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the,
isn't it really swift there?
Well, part of the issue, so one of the things we need to look at is getting down to the water because of the way that the river has eroded it
yeah,
is not real easy anymore.
Yeah.
And so just the way the water runs down it, and it's kind of a difficult way to
Right.
get down, especially for people that aren't, even I have a hard time getting down there. So
Yeah.
that's something to look at if we want to make it more user friendly down there and
Right.
how the river affects it, because it does come around a corner right there. So it's going to eat away at it
Continually.
you know, the higher the water is, the more it's going to eat that bank away.
Yep.
And so that's something to think about. The other thing I wanted to bring up to think about is a dog park is supposed to go in there. And
Yeah.
so we need to look at where you want to put a dog park and how you want to put a dog park in there. So that's another thing in that field area to look
Yep.
at while we're there.
So I think we have a lot to do with that, and it would be the right time to do it so that Greg has some ideas of what the committee thinks would be good ideas, and also to get feedback on how crazy that would be to do the stuff.
Well, I think the information that comes out of this discussion, we need to realize it on a map of some sort or that easily.
Yeah.
We can
So
actually.
you're talking about having an actual park and tree committee meeting there?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, do the Park and Tree Committee meeting there, and then, I mean, if we just shorten up a lot of our other stuff and actually go out and walk around and look at it,
Mhm.
I think we would get a lot of bang for our buck. Instead of talking about what these things look like, just go see it.
You need to vote on that.
I don't
No.
think so.
I think consensus.
I think, and they just had to make sure that they could do it.
Yeah,
We could do it. Yeah. That's it.
Is there any potential for a fishing platform?
well, there's always potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so
Well, you don't want to get a permit to work in the river.
no, well, that and where that comes around is not real great. I mean, you can catch little rainbow trout there, but it's not like a
Great fishing spot.
phenomenal fishing spot. No.
But little rainbow trout would be fun for people.
So it's a
That's
good
what I catch
beach.
right up on my
Yeah.
Because-
head where I am, but
The river is swift on the other side on that across from it. And
Uh-huh.
so it's kind of shallow and rocky. So it does provide areas for like kids to splash around in shallow areas.
Yeah.
It's not swift right there.
there's a pool
Yeah.
kind of at the
Yep.
the
That
the
gravel
western
bar's
side.
up above it. Yeah.
So these are all things that will be good to go stand there and look at and talk about on that nice day in June.
When there's good weather,
Yeah,
that coincides with
yes.
scheduling.
So we'll get that on the record. What date is that again, Wally?
Third
Uh,
Wednesday and
The third.
Third Tuesday.
Okay.
Wednesday in June.
Oh, no, I totally agree with that, just from what I've heard, that you can't get there from here. But
Can't get there from here.
I don't know how, well, we'll talk about it when we're out there. You know, where does their area of ownership end and where does the park begin, and what could you do there? Might make a big difference.
20 feet. We have to be careful, 20 feet to the shoreline.
Okay,
And I think there's probably even more boundaries that Angela knows even more about. But
yeah,
we have to be careful about what we do outside of that, whatever
Yeah.
barrier.
75-foot riparian buffer, but it all depends on what we want to do. For building and whatnot, now if we want to use the bank, that might be something different, but we have to. South San Diego's a little bit different than Bonnet Creek.
I don't know.
Yeah, we did, my wife and I did a walk through that park, and
Oh, yeah,
I mean, I could resend that back out. It'd be a starting point for you
Yeah.
to take a look at what I looked at. I mean, we looked at the bathrooms needing paint, we looked at the courts and
Something
dog
to
park
get
and
us
replacing
started
a
with.
table that's missing that says it's a memorial table, but there's no table
Yeah.
there.
it's probably good to just
Been
bring
that
it
way
to
for
the
a long
meeting,
time.
Yeah.
you know, and then when we're out there, we can talk about what's on the list and walk through it.
I'll resend that out.
We did a list
a-
like that a long time ago too.
Good deal.
Before
But
they
I
did.
think what Greg's point, paint like on those bathrooms, that's an obvious, get rid of that old brown structure paint.
So Bob, if you
To lighten
send
it
that
up a
list to
little
me, I will add it to
Oh,
the agenda.
Amy just sent it to you and then.
Yeah, I'll add it as an attachment.
Yeah,
Okay.
So.
okay,
Nice.
so let's move on to canceling fishing on the South Santiam River.
So
Kayak ramp.
let's
Isn't that
make
what
this real quick. We have no movement. We've
Yeah.
got a lot going on with what phase one's going to look like.
Right.
And we're working out funding. So we've been focused on that. So there really been no movement. If it looks like where it's going, the 1A project or phase one might be a little condensed. So it might not be impacting this year, but when phase two happens, I guarantee you, there's going to be a lot going on. So please hold. I will again get back to you when I know more, when we have a direction. I would imagine within the next couple of months, we'll be having a good understanding when the contractor will be coming on board, and we'll have some more ideas of that.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking the impact to this summer and this fall will be minimal compared to when we break ground in phase two. So more to come.
I would suggest that we're unlikely to have any movement next couple of, probably not worth revisiting until September at the earliest.
Yeah.
But I would say August, September.
Okay,
So I'll take it off the agenda till fall.
fishing's back on. Yeah. Lower Sankey Park donation recognition. I don't think we got very far on that.
So we discussed kind of what we would want that to look like. Well, we didn't discuss that. We discussed coming up with what we want that to look
Yeah.
like and trying to get some ideas of whether we want it to be a plaque, whether we want it to be some sort of wall with plaques, whether we want it, there's been a lot of ideas floated around, looking at the Sweet Home High School, the track
Yeah.
one. So that's something you guys also mentioned, maybe doing something at the Harvest Festival, some sort of presentation that doesn't give us a lot of time. So depending on how you want to do that, we either need to get on it, the second the budget is approved and get something figured out, or do some sort of semi-ceremonial thank you and then put up the plaques later, or whatever we want to do later.
That's a good idea.
I think that from what I've seen, because I did go look at a few places, and so Dave brought up the metal plaque, which is similar to what's out front here. And I saw a couple of places that had it actually, I don't know what the thing's called. It's a big rock.
Right.
It's just a vertical.
Like a monolith.
Yeah,
type.
just a vertical rock, and it's attached to it. And I did notice that it looked like on the one, heck was that at? I think it was in Hillsboro. It looked like they'd put the plaque on the rock. It had been there longer than what was on the other side of the rock. And then it dawned on me, if you got a rectangular or square-ish type rock, that you have four sides to it. You could put stuff on as other things came to mind, or you needed to add to it. So just food for thought. It didn't look, I don't know what a rock like that costs. I'm assuming you buy rocks like that from someplace.
Yeah.
And then you pour some concrete
Mortuaries.
and you drop the rock in it and you attach the plaque.
So the other thing is think about location. Where would you want it to be located at? I mean, there is the white sign that we don't use for anything anymore that's right there in the northern parking lot, whether we want to do it something right in there or we want to put it more centrally located. That's another thing. So to think about when you're out at Sankey Park, to kind of take a look at it, where would you want that to go?
And I did notice on the white sign, it has a map on it, right?
And
Is
I
what's
haven't
on
looked-
there.
I haven't looked at it in a while, so I don't.
I was looking at it the other day. I was there twice, 2 different days, and both times there were people that were looking at the map. And their kids got the parents over there
Mm.
and they were asking where things were at on it.
It's good
And
to
they
know.
were looking around the area, and it seems to me it's a similar map to what's out at the point that shows kind of what's in the area. It kind of gives a regional look. And I think that's what's on that.
So one of the new era comes out together those displays, and there's several of them around town.
Right.
Is it one of those?
I didn't
There's
go
one
up.
at Ashbrook.
Yeah, I'll go look at it after this just to validate. But I was surprised. I was just surprised how many people as I went there twice, and both times families were involved in looking at a map. And I thought, wow, kids are actually going to learn how to navigate with a map versus just their phone. So,
But getting back to what Angela, what you said, maybe have a semi, just thank you at the harvest thing and then come up with a, you know, where to put a plaque or a rock or something later on.
I mean, there's, you know, there's a chance that we might be able to get something in by that time. I mean, it isn't
That's
until the
true.
first weekend of
October.
October, but it's just something that we need to make, if that's what our goal is, which is what you all expressed at the last meeting,
yeah,
then we need to get moving on what we want it to look like, where we want it to go, how we want it displayed. I have all the names at my desk of all the donors. And so we just need to make that decision and then start looking at costs and materials. I mean, obviously those things are not as cheap anymore. So, and like if we're going to get a plaque made, you know, we'll have to make sure we get all of the information to get that done. And
Is
what the
that
time-
included in our budget?
Well, it can be, but we got to remember whatever we spend in that budget takes away from another one. So that's
Yeah.
what you guys will need to decide if that's what we want it to come out at.
I think that's an
we don't-
important part though, if we're going to go for another grant, is to do that and to get the publicity from doing it.
And there'll leave space for the next plaque
Right.
is the donors of the upper.
Yeah. That was the rock idea, was look like, maybe that's what they did. Maybe they did one thing and then they added to the park. And then they added the other plaque to the backside.
I think it's something next to that concrete plaza. Next to that.
I would agree. Does anybody have any opposition to a rock?
No.
I don't think they,
Yeah.
a monument.
monument.
What
Okay.
about a
Monument.
big chunk of petrified wood that sits outside the
Ooh, like
museum?
I don't
Those
know.
Big columnar.
I can tell you, I know petrified wood does break down if it's near the fire. Put a whole bunch of it around my fire pit. All fell apart. Doggone it.
They also have decorative rock or trees made of metal that are monuments as well.
Yeah.
So, but the rock idea, I think some hard granite, it would be,
Wow.
Yeah.
put the brass plaque or the coated plaque on there, it'll be there forever.
I would agree with that. I don't think. you
In
can-
our lifetimes.
That's what I see, and that's what I've seen other places. And it looks like it lasts and it's easy to keep clean. And if somebody does deface it, I don't think the rock gets screwed up from spraying the spray paint removal stuff on it. So,
We can look into that, but yeah. That's the.
I was trying to think of the whole thing, like what, how hard is it to maintain through the time frame? And
I don't think they're that hard to maintain. It's just.
yeah, that's what I mean. You can get the moss and the mold off it pretty easy and yeah.
I'll look into,
The
maybe
Dave
some-
Trask Memorial Rock.
I'll look into different, suppliers and what they do, and then I've got to look at how many names we have on it, so we have to figure out how big the plaque is.
I didn't want my name on that. Golf game in a month.
He didn't want his picture in the paper either. So Angela, I don't know if, since we're talking money right now, sort of, kind of, did you ever look into the Ford Foundation helping us with anything? Because, I was on it when we did the exercise equipment at Waterloo Park. And there's a lot of stuff they'll do.
I did, they will, so they do have a park, I think it's like $25,000 that they will do. The last one we did, there was some sort of parameter that we didn't fall into. But it is on I have a list of grants that I look into depending on what we want to do. So that's one still on my list to kind of look for.
Well, even 25, I think it's worth it too, because, talking about buying a rock or whatever. But I know, like I said, we put all that equipment in Waterloo Park and did a dog park and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, no, it is one of my options because it's, when we get ready to do another grant, also, we can use grants to match each other.
Oh,
And
good.
so that's one of the things that we can do. If we can apply for multiple grants, this grant can match with this grant and vice versa. So
That's a good idea.
we can't match with anything in the future, but if we put them together, we can match each other. So The risk of doing that, though, is that if we don't get one of the grants, then we've got to make up for that in donations, which if it's only a $25,000 grant, it's easier to make up for. But so that's one of the scenarios that I have worked out for this next grant cycle, is to try to use grants with each other to help us with that overall match amount that we have to get. So I do have that, and they're one of the ones that are on my list to do that with.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, so if we could look into that, I think that would be I agree. I don't have any idea how long it takes to make one of those metal plaque things. I would assume a trophy shop does
Oh,
that.
yeah.
yeah, I have a few contacts that do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they do.
And it can't be too hard to get a monument.
Mr. Chair,
Right.
Blair, can you help me with this? I think we're still working on this budget that we already have in place. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we have money in the parks right now that we have not spent.
Yeah.
So that might be something,
In the current fiscal year?
yeah. I think I would want to research that to make sure that I don't think we're gonna have to wait to pay $100 for whatever it is. That's just my opinion, and I'll talk to Brandon about
I
that.
think the plaque itself will probably have funding, we can probably find
Yes.
funding to do.
Yeah.
The question is, how much does it cost to put on?
Yeah,
Well, it'd be the
Yeah.
rock
And-
and the concrete and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we can procure it by June 30th.
Yeah.
So
We-
if not, it comes out of next year's fiscal year anyway. So
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I will look into costs. I
but
will
to get
try
the
some
plaque
costs.
thing with that, I mean, that
Yeah.
can't take that long, and you'll just
wouldn't think
research
so.
it. That's-
I would
that's
agree
my
with
point.
that. Yep. Okay, so that would be good. I would love to see that celebration at the Harvest Festival. I think that would go immense with our community,
Mhm.
see that.
You could unveil it,
Mhm.
Yeah,
cover it up.
Yeah. okay, health fair booth.
Health fair booth.
You asked if we wanted a table. Lena said she thought she could attend, so I will not physically be around at that.
What's
point.
that date
What's
again?
that? Is Saturday, August 20th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And this year, instead of being inside, it will be an outside event in front of the LBC Center and the covered area going into the auditorium. So it'll all be out front. We're going to do the covered area. We're going to do a lot of pop-up type so it'll be more visible. I had a lady call me yesterday. They're going to add the kids backpack program there this year, which will be
Oh,
about
good.
500 backpacks. So I think we'll
Harvest
see a
Church.
lot of foot traffic coming through the event.
So we talked about promoting Sweet Home Parks and getting outdoors and enjoying nature and exercise. So somewhere, do we have a brochure, a map of all the parks? So this could be part of our plan to really get people educated on where the parks are and what they offer.
There
So-
is one because I.
Yeah, so I would recommend that you get together with Legia. And we can come up with what we want to see on a brochure, and she could get it designed, and then we could get some, because I don't know. We have some old ones that are somewhere, I don't know, but I think it would be good to probably have something that's more updated. With park amenities and different things on it. So I would suggest she's out of town right now.
Okay.
But I would suggest maybe we do create a meeting with her and kind of come up with what we want to see on that and
Okay.
what you guys want to do for that. So.
And
You want
we,
to take the lead with that?
and we were
Yeah,
gonna,
'cause I think that'd be the
Oh, yeah.
big thing to have there.
we were gonna include, because we talked about it last meeting, the adding to your utility bill. We were gonna have that,
All the donation.
yeah.
line.
And we
At the
can,
health
we can
fair.
add that too as part of the information that we
Yeah.
can add on
Yeah.
it.
I think, when I first got on the parks, I didn't know we had so many parks.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good, who came up with that idea? You, I'm sure it was her, not you. But I would like to see, here's what for me, just to me now, I'd like to see pictures of the old Sankey Park
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and the new Sankey Park.
yeah.
And see, so people can see what we can do and
Yeah.
have done. So now I've never been in Ashbrook.
No?
Nope, I've never been there.
Oh.
Didn't know it even existed
Huh.
until I got on the parks. And then I knew where Clover was and that stuff. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. And I tell you what, I'll help you with that if you want me to.
Okay.
You may not want me to.
Sure.
I think, I think another thing that would be neat if we had like a slideshow or presentation to show pictures, not just a brochure. Is
So
this
we'd have to have,
outside? Yeah, but there's electricity there on that.
Oh, you could do it with a laptop with
Yeah.
PowerPoint pictures, just put it on slideshow and let it sit there and run. I can't, I won't be there, but that's,
Okay.
can happen. Yeah.
well, what I'll do is, Lena, you want to be in that meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when Legia gets back, I will have a conversation with her and we'll send you a meeting invite and we'll get it figured out. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Any new business?
One thing just to an FYI, as you're aware, we have the former quarry property that the city owns now. Trying to get a city council work session scheduled because we have a lot of ideas for that property.
Yeah.
And plans that have been made, but they've never actually been formally adopted or had any formal council vote on what those are. And so it really is past time probably to kind of make sure that staff is on good ground with what we're doing with the property and how we're moving forward. Because what I'd like to see is I'd like to put out a formal proposal or for a formal request for proposals out to private industry to say, these are the things that we want out of this space. And let us know how you would do it and how much it would cost and what you would want out of it, as a potential public-private partnership, and utilize that avenue to try to get things moving forward. But I bring it up mainly because it has the potential to become a park, and so you all should be aware that of discussions that will happen regarding that property, because we would like it, even if it includes private money and private activities, there still has to be a public part of it.
Yeah.
Because it can't be used for anything other than public use. Now, you can have a private enterprise on public property, but it has to be done right and governed through an agreement with the city and still it has at least a portion of it that's open to the public without payment. You'd have the private industry would be something like they would run the stage or amphitheater. Anybody putting an event would have to go through them, and they would have the right to charge management fees for that kind of thing. But then paths and access to the river would be public and
Right.
something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
So just kind of an FYI, that's hopefully coming up where we'll have a work session to kind of go into that. And if there is a work session, it'll be open to the public and definitely open to any of you to attend as well.
Is that
There's no
still,
date yet for that, but I will make sure that you're made aware.
is the thought process still to run the new road down into it? Yeah.
So, that's one of the barriers. We've owned it since 2017, and one of the barriers has always been access into that property. It's
Yeah.
not great access right now. The rail crossing is approved by ODOT and the railroad. And so essentially it's just waiting for the development money to be able to pay for it. The owner of the mill property is interested in that road going through, wants it to happen, wants to dedicate the roadway over to the city, and that would be our access into that area. So that's all kind of the tentative plan, but like I said, it hasn't ever been formally adopted or any formal direction from the council on doing that. So I'm actually going to be meeting with the owner of the mill property this week to kind of talk about some of the next steps and see what cooperation we can put together.
Yeah. And I see people fishing down there.
You do that.
They're in a canoe.
It's kind of
You were in a canoe yesterday. I was
We
watching
don't
them.
really have the ability of keeping, I mean, it's not like we have a fence around the whole property or anything, so we can keep vehicles out, but we don't really have the ability to keeping walkers out. And for the most part, nobody really causes any problem there.
Oh, no, I just pointed out, I saw people fishing. I looked at it and went, huh, I'd like to be fishing as I went back to get more wood out of the woods.
There's bass in there.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it looked like they were
As development,
In the quarry
as
pond?
plans for
Mhm.
development
Yes.
move forward, certainly some of those people will be upset because
Oh.
it may affect the fishing.
Yeah.
Depending on how things are developing. I hope we always have good fishing there, but I'm sure that's affected by by various development options that we'll be looking at.
yeah.
For any of you, Mr. Chair, for any of you that don't realize how big that property is, it's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is huge, and it also is next to the river.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I didn't realize there was so many ponds there. I didn't have a clue.
Oh.
They're huge too.
Beautiful.
There's so much potential there but it all costs a lot of money.
Yeah. As long as the county doesn't want to charge me a view tax when they get done with it, I'll be okay. Yeah,
Well, the county doesn't own any of the property anymore. It's all city owned or privately owned.
no, but I heard they would charge me a view tax if there was
Because of where
improvements
you
made. that-
look, because we
Yeah,
can look
because
over
we
it.
look right at it.
Cause you can look right.
I was like, oh, I heard that. I was like, okay, I'm putting a fence up so they can't get in and look at my view.
Yeah.
So where's it?
It's, the people 2 doors down from me, they got hit with a view tax.
A
What?
Yep.
tax because you have a nice view.
That's
Yes,
crazy.
it was an addition to their property tax.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just include that in the assessment of the property itself? Why would it be anything?
That's
Wasn't in it
ridiculous.
to begin with, so they were trying to add it on. They went to court over it. So I was like, oh, if the view gets better, I bet I owe more money.
I get that the value of your
Wow.
property is better if you have a view, but that should all be
That's
incorporated in the
crazy.
assessment.
Yep.
I don't know why you would have a separate.
Wow.
That's crazy. Crazy world.
Yeah.
Is it here?
So I have deer on my other
Is it-
property. so
Yeah.
wildlife
Yep.
That's it?
Yep.
So Chairman,
Okay.
another thing that got brought up, so Sean Morgan, what's public?
Yeah.
What's
The
this?
community
Police
service
officer.
Community Service Officer.
Oh.
So he sent me an email. It says, a Park and Tree Board usually has a table at the Public Safety Fair. Here's an invite to join us
yeah.
again this year. Event is scheduled for 9 a.m. to noon on June 18th at the Police Department. Setup is at 8 a.m. So
June
he is wanting to know if Park and Tree Committee wants to do a booth also at the Safety Fair.
Yeah,
And I'm
Do we
supposed
have
to
the
let him know.
brochure ready?
I did that last time.
Yeah,
We might not have a
There
brochure.
was a
ready by
bunch of
then.
us went there and we set up the little thing and we talked about the Sankey Park
Mhm.
because we were getting ready to do the,
We could have some things,
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe do some sort of, we could probably have a flyer by that time.
a
Yeah,
combination of
that's
existing
good.
commercial
You can do
materials.
face painting.
June 18th.
Yeah.
Yes,
Donation can.
June 18th.
it's a Saturday.
Yeah, there you go.
Setup is at 8 a.m. and it goes till noon.
What's it called? Safety?
Safety Fair.
I can
So
be
is
at that one.
so is that a yes?
Yes,
Let me tell him yes. Okay.
Yep,
they do the bike helmets
safety, yeah,
and they land a helicopter somewhere.
lots of kids. Hot dogs. Yeah, it is
Oh.
hot dogs. They're
So
gone.
that's,
Oh,
okay.
They exist, but they're gone.
So that'll be the Saturday right after our next meeting. So
Yeah.
I'll just make sure we have everything together.
Yeah.
By that next meeting. So.
Yep. Yeah, and it's good just to, and now also we have our Park and Tree Committee apparel. And
Wear it.
I'm pretty sure from what I understand, the weather's gonna be good then also.
Did you check
Oh.
it?
Yeah.
Got some pull somewhere? Why didn't you do that earlier?
Yeah,
Yeah, really.
Pete is the guy's name.
Pete.
Pete something.
Well, knock on wood, the Arbor Day was a beautiful day. So.
Yeah.
It
So
was.
far-
Have
so
to
far
plan
we've
an
been
event To have good weather.
Yeah,
Pete
Yep.
Parsons.
yeah, that's it.
He was actually a newscaster on one of the Portland news stations years
Oh, really?
ago.
Yeah. It's an awesome weather forecast to watch, 3 months at a time. Does
Well,
it every month. And then 2 weeks after he does it, he talks about the last 3 months. How did I do?
Typically said his last name.
How does he do it?
Carson.
He's pretty good.
Parsons.
He is good.
And he says we're in for a change. So if you
Good.
don't like the weather we're having, stick around.
That's kind of always true, isn't it?
Yeah, the long-term weather, the climate is changing for annual. We're gonna go from El Nino to La Nina, he thinks, and I'll know in a week.
We're in a La Nina situation.
Is it La
right
Nina?
now.
Is one is whatever it is, it's going to the other one. So
Yeah, it's,
Called drought.
that's what I've heard, that there's supposed to be a transition.
We already had a fire in Bend.
That's
Okay.
called drought, you're saying?
Yeah, my friend's husband.
if there's nothing else,
He didn't do.
we will
round table.
conclude the meeting.
I second that.